Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Ms. Carranza and Mr. Grice's Algebra 1 class. Today we're going to be talking about Algebra 2.2 notes, and that's going over absolute value. Our learning target today is to be able to identify the opposite and the absolute value of real numbers. Now, if you can see, I've already got a couple definitions written down. You guys can start to copy those. First, we're going to talk about opposite numbers. Now, opposite numbers are numbers that are the same distance from zero. So, let's go through some examples. If we have the number -2, -2 is two spots from zero. So the exact opposite of that number would be 2. So, the opposite of -2 is 2. Okay, let's try the fractions. Okay, the opposite of 1/2 is dun 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 -1/2. Okay, and that's going to work with decimals too. If we have -3.71, the opposite of that would be +3.71. Okay, now let's move on to absolute value. Absolute value is the distance a number is from zero. Now, when you see the absolute value symbol, it's going to look just like that. Okay? It looks like 2 breadsticks. So, absolute value, the distance a number is from zero, the distance that 5 is, well, it's 5 spots. But now if I say the distance of -5, well, -5 is 5 spots. When we're talking about the distance here, the distance is always positive. Okay? So, let's start going through some examples. Evaluate each absolute value expression. Number 1. The distance, the absolute value of -6 is 6. The absolute value of 3.4 is not -3.4, +3.4. Now, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 has that negative on the outside, and what that means is the opposite. So, what is the opposite of the absolute value of 5/8? Well, the absolute value is 5/8. The opposite of that would be a -5/8. All right, same thing with number 4. It's saying, what is the opposite of the absolute value of -4? Well, the absolute value of -4 is 4, but the opposite of that is negative. All right, 5 is saying the absolute value of -64. Well, that is 64. And 26, or number 6 is saying the opposite of the absolute value of 23, -23. Now, the key thing to notice is it's only negative when the negative sign is on the outside. All right. Next, we're going to go through some little bit harder examples. Now we're going to be using order of operations, and we're going to treat the absolute value symbols like parentheses. So oh, I don't have enough room to write there. Let's make that a little bigger. So minus 5, 2, plus, plug in all of our values, negative 20, negative 3, and 6. So we're going to do what's inside first. Negative 20 minus 5. If you do click, click, you get negative 25 minus 2 times 3 gives you negative 6 plus 6. The absolute value of negative 25 is 25. Absolute value of 6, or negative 6, is 6. Order of operations, we have to do that first, and we get 19 plus 6, and then we get 25. All right, why don't you try number 9 by yourself? Go ahead and pause the video, and then the answer will be up in just a second. All right, there you go. Now, key things to notice is whenever there is a number next to an absolute value symbol, that means to multiply. Okay? All right, let's look at the next couple problems. It says to solve the following absolute value equations. In other words, what values of x make each statement true? So, for number 10, I want to know what number can we put inside to get 8? Now, there are 2 answers to this. Because some of you are going to be saying, well, positive 8. The absolute value of positive 8 is 8. But you can also say negative 8. So x equals negative 8 or positive 8. Okay, same with fraction or decimals. You can have a positive 3.7 or a negative 3.7, and you can get the same answer. So negative 3.7 or positive 3.7. Now, look at number 12. It says the absolute value of x equals negative 11. Now, is there any number that you can put in to get a negative 11? Well, the absolute value of negative 11 would be positive 11. The absolute value of positive 11 is positive 11. So for this one, there is no solution. Okay? You cannot add the negative sign outside to make it true. Okay? We can't change the problem. All right, let's keep working. Why don't you guys try 13 through 15, and I'll put the answers up in just a second. And there you go. How'd you guys do? Okay, if you're having any problems, make sure you come in and see Miss Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Moving on. The next we're talking about a counterexample, and a counterexample is a specific example that proves a statement is false. So, the example that we gave in class, Ms. Carranza said that all cars are gray. Is that a true statement? Well, no, it's not a true statement. But to prove it, you have to give an example. So, my example is My car is red. And that is a specific example that proves that the statement is false. So let's take a look at what we're supposed to do. It says determine if the following phrases are true or false. If a phrase is false, give a counterexample to prove that. All right. A. The opposite of a number is always negative. So think about that for a second. The opposite of a number is always negative. What do you think? That statement is false, okay? Because the opposite of -3. What's the opposite of -3? The opposite of -3 is +3. So that's a specific example that's saying that your statement is false. Okay? Take a look at B. Okay? B is saying the absolute value of a number is never negative. Okay? That word's right there, never negative, is pretty much saying that the absolute value is always positive. Okay? So, let's try to think of some examples. If we had the absolute value of 5, it gives you 5. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Okay? So right here, those examples are always saying that this is true. Okay? And once again, this is saying the absolute value, not the opposite of the absolute value. You can't change what the problem is saying. All right. C, there are always two solutions to an absolute value equation. What do you think? Let's find out. Well, let's pick a number. 3. If this was x, x would equal -3 or +3. Two answers, right? What about this one? The answer to this one is no solution. That's only one answer. And what about here? The answer to this problem is just one answer. Okay, so this statement is false. In D, the expression, the absolute value of A is always positive. That's exactly like D up here, and we know that that is true. Okay, that's it for Algebra 2.2 notes on absolute value. Remember, if you need any assistance with any of this, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. All right, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.